Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. Because if you imagine, like if you go to the gym and you grab a pair of dumbbells, one in each hand, and after your workout, you take those dumbbells with you everywhere. You go eat lunch, you have the dumbbells with you. You go to drive your car, you have the dumbbells with you. Holding on to those dumbbells is holding on to grudges or an unforgiveness towards other people, and you let go of those dumbbells, you immediately become lighter.
Welcome to Mirror Talk Soulful Conversations. If this is your first time here, we're so glad you found us. And to our returning listeners, welcome back. We've missed you. Take a moment to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on the inspiration, wisdom, and heartwarming stories we share every week. Let's grow together, one soulful conversation at a time.
I'm honored to be joined by an author, podcast host, and entrepreneur who has turned her pain into purpose. Through her book, Blooming with Self-Love, a podcast, Nourished Inside Out, and a thriving online community, she is on a mission to help women heal and rebuild their lives after toxic relationships. Our journey from surviving abuse to empowering others is a story of strength, healing, and transformation. Welcome to the show, Aneta. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well.
Thank you so much for making out the time to join me. And I'm looking forward to learning so much from you. So I would like us to get to know you a little bit by asking you some random questions from the 3 stacks of cards that we have here. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I'm shuffling the first stack of cards already. And I'll just pick a card at random or randomly. And the first question from our icebreakers stack of card is, what is a song you play by yourself but never with other people?
A song that I play by myself but never with other people. It's a couple, but I will definitely go back to the High School Musical ones from when I was a kid.
Wow. Which of the songs?
Like the ones like from Hannah Montana, Ordinary Girl, or from High School Musical. So definitely I'll put those on like a playlist and play those.
That's nice. That's cool. If I could add to that, I'll add one from all these Wizard of Waverly Places or something like that. The one with Selena Gomez, Disney. Yeah.
I love that one too.
It makes me remember childhood days and watching Disney a lot back then. But that's nice. Are you ready for the second question?
Yes.
So this is from our confessions stack of cards. It says, what is a chance you are glad you took?
Chance I'm glad I took. There's many, but the most recent one was moving to Miami because I never saw myself as a Miami girl, let alone a Florida person. It's so interesting because in the past, when people would say, oh, do you want to go to Florida for vacation? Or do you want to go to Florida just to go visit for a little bit? I wouldn't ask any questions. My immediate answer was no, I don't want to go. And within the last couple of weeks, I've relocated here to just push past the limiting beliefs that I had about it. And I'm really glad that I was able to come here.
That's awesome. If I may ask, like, what made you move at the end? Like, what made you overcome that resistance to move?
Yeah, so I was living in Mexico for the past year, and I was building my podcast and writing my book, and it was getting a little difficult to grow there because whenever I would talk to people about it, they would ask me if it's in Spanish, and I'm not fully there yet, and you don't want me talking in Spanish on my podcast. So I felt a lot of the people that I was networking with, they were over in Florida. So I came with the mentality and the mindset like, I'm coming here for work. So that way, because I think there's a lot of like negative terms around Miami in terms of, oh, I'm going there to party. And I didn't want to do any of that. So I came with the mindset, I want to come here for work and to really reframe that mindset. So that helped me.
That's awesome. Yes. And I hope you achieve your dreams over there. Yeah. And you're able to
Thank
accomplish
you.
what you moved for. Yeah. That's something good. Yeah. So the last card from our Getting Deep session It says, wow, this is related to something we're going to be talking about. I mean, this is very random. It says, describe your worst heartbreak. What did it teach you? That's
My
so
worst
random.
heartbreak. That's actually perfect what we're going to talk about.
Yes, yes, exactly. I was so surprised when I picked the card. I was like, oh, wow. So aligned.
Yeah, so what led me to my worst heartbreak was actually not being honest with myself. And I say that because when I was younger, I grew up as a dancer. I was a ballet dancer from, I don't know, 7 years old to 19 years old. And I pretty much grew up in front of a mirror of staring at myself and staring at other people in the room. And not only that, I always had a teacher critiquing what I look like and what I'm doing. You know, if I was messing around with my nails in class, I would get yelled at. If my toes weren't pointed enough, I would get yelled at. And they would always tell me to do better. So it really started with me being really hard on myself, even past the four walls in the dance studio, of what I looked like, what I was saying, who I was hanging out with. And that really caused me to critique myself to the point where it was unhealthy. And I didn't like who I was. So then as I got older, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to dress. I didn't know how to do my hair. I didn't know how to do my makeup because I was always used to what my dance teachers were telling me. And 9 times out of 10, you don't want to be walking in public in ballet tights and a leotard. So I had to really get broken down to figure out who I am. Who's Aneta? Because ballet Aneta is one version, but who am I really on the inside without the mask of the ballet? And then as I got a little older, I was graduating high school and I was starting to listen to personal development podcasts and books, and I was getting myself into that realm. And then I thought, I think I'm ready for a serious relationship. And I was like, I really leaned into my faith and I was like, God, I think I'm ready for a relationship. Like, I want to find somebody who's serious. And he was like, Are you sure? And I was like, Yeah. And he was like, Okay, but this might not be the one, but it's going to teach you a lot of things. So when I was 21, I got married to a man that I meet, and he was trying to also change me into who somebody that I'm not, because I was allowing it. I was disrespecting myself by allowing people to change who I am instead of getting uncomfortable and figuring out who I am. So then, flash forward when I'm 23 years old, I'm thinking to myself, this is so chaotic. I cannot handle this anymore. And that's when I decided that enough is enough. I'm done playing games. I'm done playing small. Whatever the other side of this looks like, it has to be better than this chaotic, unhealthy relationship slash marriage. So when I was 23, I ended up filing for divorce, and I really worked hard to rebuild my life from the ground up from there.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. I mean, for me, I'm learning also that, yeah, it's very important for us to know ourselves. We love ourselves actually, to really actually know who you are and love who you are, basically. And don't allow other people to dictate your identity to you, basically, or to manipulate you. Yeah. And I'm so happy that you're using your story right now also to help other people out there, to help other ladies and people in general, who are going through something similar. Like we said before we started recording, we could be we're like in a classroom basically, and everyone is shy to raise up their hand to say, "Yeah, I'm also going through the same thing." But as soon as one person raises his or her hand up, then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, actually, I'm also going through the same pain. I'm also going through the same situation too." And that's why I would like us to just segue directly into your book, Blooming with Self-Love. Because I know from my understanding, like, after experiencing that, the heartbreak and the divorce, you go to love yourself more. You started to learn how to love yourself. So can you tell us about the book and how it is a beautiful invitation to healing? Like, what inspired you to write it, and how has it helped you also on your own journey right now?
Yeah, so Blooming with Self-Love was created because I wanted to create a book for other people that I once needed during challenging times. I'm a firm believer that challenges don't happen to us, they happen for us. And they all have a purpose here, and it's to serve one another. So instead of saying, why me? Why am I going through these challenges? Let's take a second and say, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that my ex-husband was mean to me. I'm thankful that I got critiqued so much as a dancer. I'm thankful for all of my challenges because they have given me the opportunity to see life from a different lens. You know, it's like you were saying, like you can be in a classroom full of people learning the same thing. There's 30 people in the classroom, 10 people have the same question, but nobody wants to raise their hand because they're afraid. And then that one person raises their hands and they break the ice. That's exactly what your story is going to do. It just takes one person to step outside of their comfort zone and say, yeah, I'm struggling. Yeah, I'm upset. Yeah, I have tough days. Because what I see on social media is not always perfect. Quite honestly, social media is good, but to a certain extent, because that's not always reality. And you have to understand that if you're willing to share your story, somebody is waiting for you to share your story because somebody is waiting for you to raise your hand and break the ice. So they're not were happening to you. The challenges are happening for you.
Yeah, the challenges happen for you. In your journey so far, would you say you've been able to, totally forgiving your ex-husband, for example, forgiving the teacher and, you know, taking the lessons that you learned from all those experiences to become a better person? Would you say you've been able to like let go of everything that's, happened to you in the past?
Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. Because if you imagine, like if you go to the gym and you grab a pair of dumbbells, one in each hand, and after your workout, you take those dumbbells with you everywhere. You go eat lunch, you have the dumbbells with you. You go to drive your car, you have the dumbbells with you. Holding on to those dumbbells is holding on to grudges or an unforgiveness towards other people. But when you let go of forgiveness and you let go of those dumbbells, you immediately become lighter. So, forgiveness, you don't even have to tell that person you forgive them. But if you can honestly look yourself in the mirror and say, I forgive this person for X, Y, and Z, and I know some of you might be thinking, whoever's listening, yeah, but you don't know what this person did to me. But that doesn't matter. It's already in the past, and you can't change the past. All you have is in the present moment. You can't add days to your life, but you can add life to your days. If you want to add life to your days, you're going to have to let go of those dumbbells and let go of the weight of people who don't add value to you anymore.
Anita, a question coming to my head right now. It's very important for us to forgive. It's very important for us to let go of those grudges. But how can I process my emotions? How can I process the thoughts that comes to my head whenever I think about a person or you think about a situation? What can we do in order to, you know, emotionally heal ourselves and mentally also let go, whenever those thoughts comes?
Some things that have helped me is journaling. It sounds simple, but when you journal, you just get your thoughts out there. You don't even have to have a prompt. You can literally just do a brain dump and just dump out all your thoughts on a piece of paper. And you don't have to share it with anybody, but it's just so freeing to get your thoughts out. And also, something that's helped me is gratitude, is just showing gratitude because I'm a firm believer that you will not be given anything that you can't handle. So when life gives you challenges, say thank you because we are either happy or we're learning. And if you're not happy, then whatever you're facing in that moment, it's there to teach you something to take you to the next level of your life. So just start thanking them. I'll give you a really good example. This might sound a little crazy, but I remember when I left my ex-husband. I moved back to the city because I'm from Chicago originally. I got my own apartment. I start working at a hair salon. I was a hairstylist at the time, and I got hired at my dream salon. I wanted to work at this salon 5 years before I went to beauty school, and it was really big for me. So I get hired, 8 months fly by, and after 8 months, there is some things that I communicated, and we were all just on different pages. So they let me go. And I remember that day when they let me go. They come up to me and they're like, "Hey, Aneta, because of X, Y, and Z, we're going to be parting ways." And my immediate reaction was, "Thank you." I didn't say anything else. I was like, "Really? Thank you so much." And I went,
Wow.
I packed up my stuff. And I remember, like, I felt like so much weight fell off my shoulders because I was stressed there. I was always thinking what to do, whether it was with clients or my coworkers. There was always something to think about. And what you let go of is actually a blessing in disguise. I just remember leaving and I was like, "God, I don't know what's next, but I trust you because when you close a good door, a better one always opens."
Oh yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that attitude. I love that mindset. Being thankful. Oh, and I think you might correct me if please correct me if I'm wrong. When a situation is the right thing for you, when you feel relieved, like when you feel like, wow, a weight has just been dropped off your shoulders, basically like, oh yeah, this is the right thing for me. It might not seem ideal or suitable. You might be start thinking, oh, well, how will I get my funding for tomorrow when no salary comes in again? But once you feel that relief in your soul, in your spirit, and you're thankful for it, I believe the future is only brighter.
Absolutely. And it's just like, be thankful for your setbacks. Be thankful for when people are not kind to you, because a lot of times when somebody is not kind to you, we get into the mentality of, what's wrong with me? Why did I do that? What did I say? What did I do to make that person act like that towards me? But the reality is, there's nothing wrong with you and you didn't do anything. A person will treat you based on how they feel about themselves. My ex-husband tried to change me into a mold of somebody that I'm not because he didn't like who he was. He would tell me, "You look like this," or "You dress like that. You hang out with this person," because he was insecure in certain areas of his life that he didn't want to show. So instead of facing his insecurities, he would try to control me and tell me what I should be doing. And I didn't see it at the time, but after leaving and going down my own healing journey, I've realized that I was never the problem. Toby, you're not the problem when someone is mean to you. Whoever out here is listening, you're not broken and you're not the problem. So don't let a bitter world harden your soft heart. I always say, have thick skin and a soft heart, but don't let the cold world harden your heart.
Love that so much. Do not let the cold world harden your heart. Yeah. You're not the problem. You're not the reason why someone is acting up the way they act. It's the product of whatever they are going through, basically.
Exactly. If you think about it, if you work in an office job, what day are people happy? Fridays.
Right.
What day are people not super chatty?
Monday.
Mondays.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're already thinking about Fridays, they're excited for the weekend. So if they're excited about the weekends, then they're going to be nicer to you. But when they're back in the office on Monday and they don't like their job, they're not going to be happy. So that's what they're going to portray.
Yeah, that's true. I was not thinking about it as what did I do wrong? What's up with me today that people are looking at me the way they look at me or talk to me the way they talk to me, but it's something they are going through basically that's making them act the way they are acting, not about me. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'd like to learn from you about self-confidence. I'd like to learn about self-confidence from you. Like, for someone out there or for people who have gone through heartbreaks or so, like who have gone through toxic relationships, like how can they start rebuilding their self-confidence again after going through something that has destroyed their self-esteem, destroyed their sense of identity?
Something that has helped me in the beginning was really getting comfortable with myself. And I had to get comfortable with who I was and not who I was portraying myself to be or who other people thought I was. Because a lot of times in this world, we have friends, family members, our parents. They say, you should live here, you should go to college here, you should work this job. What do you mean you're not happy at this job? You work for a big company. Or what do you mean you don't hang out with Sally? I thought she was nice, but actually she's not. And there's every corner, there's some kind of assumption on what we should do. And when you spend time by yourself, you have the opportunity to figure out who you are and what you like to do. Something that has helped me, I'm not saying this is for everybody because not everybody has a drive to travel as much as I do. But I remember when I left my ex-husband, I left the country immediately. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm letting go of all of these weights and I'm just leaving the country because I would always want to travel, but he always pushed me back. And then he would try to convince me that instead of traveling, it's easier to just watch people's stories on Instagram than to actually travel.
Why?
So then it sounds crazy,
Yeah.
but then I started to believe that. And I was like, maybe it is better to stay home. But when I let go of all of that and I took time for myself, I became addicted to traveling and seeing the world because it's better than just the screen. So spend time with yourself and get to know who you are.
Yeah, spend time with yourself. I mean, that sounds so so interesting to hear. So crazy. Wow. I mean, I believe traveling helps you to broaden your horizon, helps you to open your mind up to new cultures, new beliefs, basically. And sitting down watching your screen just limits you, just bottles you up, basically.
Exactly. And it's like everybody always has opinions, everybody always has thoughts. So you might as well do whatever the heck makes you happy and have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, have fun while doing it. One thing that was come to my mind when you were talking about that was basically sometimes people, try to fit into a box, basically just to please their partner, please even their parents, please people around them, their community, or try to numb some things up or suppress who they are, basically just to make other people happy. Was that something that you also experienced, or I mean, that was basically part of what you experienced, like suppressing your passion for traveling, and now that you are free, you're out of that box right now, would you say that your life has changed? Like, would you say now you've seen a lot of countries, you've been around the world, what would you say is like the biggest change that you've experienced in your life?
Falling in love with who I am and falling in love with life again because I remember I was born and raised in Chicago and we ended up getting an apartment in Chicago together. And I remember, like, for 2 years of us living together, I cried because I hated Chicago. It was so cold. The beaches were concrete. Like, I know they're pretty with the buildings, but it's still a concrete beach. And I wanted something new, and I felt trapped in this box. So when I left him, I left the country and I traveled for a little bit. But then I felt like I still wasn't completely healing because I would travel and then go back to the salon and go on and off with that. But then it wasn't until I got fired from the salon, I was like, maybe now is actually my time to go live somewhere else. So I get fired from the salon. 3 days later, I booked a one-way ticket to Mexico. I didn't know anybody. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know where I was going. I actually booked a hostel 48 hours before I left.
Wow.
And I packed my life into a carry-on suitcase and figured it out. And it's so funny because now when I look back on it, I can say, like, I can speak Spanglish. I'm not gonna go fluent into Spanish, but I didn't even know what por favor meant. Like I was so lost. But that experience gave me the opportunity to see what I'm made out of, to see how sociable can I be? Do I have limits and boundaries? The first time when I was 23 years old, after I left my ex-husband and traveled, I met a friend abroad, and I'm not kidding you when I say this. He goes, Aneta, you're resilient, but you need boundaries. I kid you not. I never heard those two words in my life. I Googled them immediately. And like, that's like how sheltered I was. Like, just, I was like, wow. I like Googled resilience and I was like, wow, that's a compliment. And then I was like, boundaries. And I was like, wow, we need work there.
Yeah. But I think that's something that happens when you've been sheltered for a long time and you get your freedom. And once you get your freedom from a box, you don't know what boundaries are basically. You just like the world is open and everything is open and you can do everything.
Absolutely.
So, but I mean, that I'm very interested to hear to learn this also right now from you. Like, how did you then start to build boundaries, healthy boundaries? From that point, like, what did you start to do in order to ensure that you're guided also?
I had a big people pleasing problem. I wanted to people please anyone and everybody. Even if it was squirrels on the street, I would probably try to people please them. If my boss ever asked me, hey, can you work weekends, holidays, nights, stay early, come early, or stay late, come early, I would do it. No questions asked. And people around me, I would be just enough to not ruffle any feathers because I always wanted to avoid arguments because I felt like voicing my opinion would cause the waters to stir, and I didn't want to do that. So I was always doing just enough to keep everybody happy, but then burning myself out on both ends. So I really had to learn how to say no. And it's interesting because when I started to say no, people would say, wow, Aneta, you're so mean. Remember when you used to be so nice? And I'm like, I respond, I am nice, but I'm setting boundaries. And boundaries are not to hurt other people. Boundaries are meant to protect your peace. They're not meant to hurt other people. And when you frame it that way, you don't feel bad about setting them because you know if somebody respects your boundaries, they're going to respect them to keep you in each other's lives. But if they don't truly care for you, then they're not going to care to keep you in their life. So they're just going to break them.
That's true. One has to learn how to say no sometimes and just don't care what people say. Let them say you're not nice. Let them say you're a wicked person. But as long as you're able to guard your peace, then yeah, whatever.
Absolutely. And it's like, you're going to get probably some negative comments from people when you start setting boundaries, but it's one of the best things you can do for yourself. Because if something costs you your peace, it's too expensive. So walk away.
That's true. Whatever will steal your peace from you, yeah, should be walked away from. Talking about whatever will steal your peace from you, I'd like us to go back to before, you got into a relationship or got married. And I'm asking this because of other people out there who are about to get into relationships, like, our listeners out there. They are asking, like, for example, what are like some red flags that I should look out for? Like, what are some red flags that people easily overlook, that one should pay attention to so that one does not get into an unhealthy relationship?
This might seem tiny, but it's actually a really big red flag. When you are not confident in yourself and who you are, you give somebody the opportunity to try to manipulate you into somebody that you're not. So, for example, if you and your partner or somebody that you're going on a date with are going out, and let's say you have two outfits and you ask that person, there's two ways of asking. You can ask them for an opinion or you can ask them for validation. And the second you ask for validation, you are losing yourself by letting that person tell you who you should be. And then you're going to be constantly chasing them for validation. But if you're confident in both outfits and you ask that person for an opinion, then that's totally different. So I always say, like, if somebody is picking at little things, oh, you look better in red than green, or, you look better in this outfit versus that one. Oh, your hair looks better blonde, it doesn't look good brown. Well, those are red flags because they're trying to shape you into somebody you're not instead of accepting you fully for who you are. Somebody's like, oh, why do you spend so much time with this person? Why do you spend so much time with your family? Those are red flags because they are going to eventually try to isolate you. So then when they isolate you, they try to manipulate you and believe that you don't need anybody except that person.
Oh yeah, yeah. And sometimes those things come to us very subtly, and we think they don't mean no any harm, and then we just like, oh yeah, that's true. Why am I spending so much time with my family? I should spend more time with you. And gradually get isolated, and that's bad. Yeah.
Yes, 100% agree. They try to pull you in with those little tactics. Oh, why don't you stay home with me? Or why can't we do this? Do you have to? Can you cancel plans with so and so? Do you have to go see your family? Another family party? Well, maybe some families are just like that, who have family parties every weekend. And if you can't accept it, then you probably shouldn't be with that person.
That's true. Well, well, Aneta, I mean, you've turned your healing into a thriving platform through writing, through podcasting, and now course creation. Like, what advice would you give someone who wants to transform their pain into purpose-driven work also?
Understand that your challenges are trying to teach you. I'm a firm believer that we are all here on this earth to serve one another in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're in your career and you enjoy it, how can you serve the people that you work with in the best possible way? If you're an entrepreneur or looking to be an entrepreneur and start your own coaching business, well, what can you teach people about things that you once needed? Because you can't take advice from somebody who hasn't walked the walk. And I would never give medical advice because I've never been to medical school, but I can give advice based on my personal experiences and my challenges. So, my biggest piece of advice is that when you're going through tough times, sit down and say, what is this trying to teach me? What did I ask for? Maybe I asked for it. Because too many times we ask for flowers and then we get surprised when it rains. How does that make sense? A flower is never going to grow without rain. I remember I was like, God, I want to be more emotionally stable. He goes, are you ready? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Of course I am. I got blessed with an ex-husband who completely tried to derail me. And it was my opportunity to get derailed, but then also build myself back up into who I'm truly meant to be. And I knew he was only going to be for a phase of my life. I knew we weren't going to be together forever. So every single day he knocked me down, I took that as how can I get up without him? And how can I help other people get up on their own without that person who's trying to derail them?
I like what you said about, asking yourself, like, what did I ask for? And what is this meant to teach me? Yeah. You asked for flowers and you got rain. The rain is there so that the flowers could grow. Those are deep,
Absolutely.
those are deep words. Something that I'm reflecting on it right now. Like, yeah, sometimes we don't put those things in perspective. Like, okay, this is what I asked for, but this is what I got. Sometimes what we get is to teach us a lesson or to help us get the results that we actually want to get in our lives. Yeah.
100%.
I would like to talk about Nourished Inside Out. I would just like you to tell us about this platform, your podcast, and also how we could also practice being nourished inside out.
Yeah, so growing up around the dance culture and the salon culture, everybody cares about the outside. How high can you kick your leg? Does your hair look good? Does your makeup look good? And does your skin look good? All of that. But the biggest thing is nobody talks about how are you talking to yourself? How are you feeding yourself? A hairstylist diet, a shot of espresso, and a cookie is not going to get you through your day every single day. We always try to get as many clients as we can in one day and then forfeit the nutrition or forfeit our mental health. And that's not okay either. So when I left all of that behind, I had to really start from the ground up of learning how to talk to myself, learning how to give myself the proper nutrition, learning people skills, and to really rewire to a more positive mindset. So I always nourished inside out is same thing like blooming with self-love. It's the education that I wish that I needed during challenging times. I love to interview all kinds of people from like dating coaches, nutritionists, therapists, psychologists. They all have different backgrounds, but they all have the same message. And that message is, how do I take care of myself from the inside out so I can be the best version of myself? You can go get your Botox, you can go get your extensions in your hair, you can get your eyelashes done, but nothing beats a glow up like taking care of your mental health and loving who you are. That's where you truly glow.
Yeah, I love that so much. Yes, you glow when you're able to, yeah, when you're mentally healthy, basically, when you're eating the right food. Yeah, yeah. Or that kind of glowing could be very temporary. Once you wipe up the makeup, it's gone. Then, yeah. Wow. I mean, I've learned a lot from you from this conversation already. And I'm sure that people out there who have more questions to ask you, maybe want to connect with you, listen to your podcast, buy your book, and also, take part in your course also. What's the best way to reach out to you, work with you, and get all these resources?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Aneta.Waclaw, on Substack, where I do a lot of my writing at Nourished Inside Out. My book is called Blooming with Self-Love. It's on Amazon. And then my podcast is called Nourished Inside Out as well. It's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you find your podcast.
So I'm going to place the link. I'll place a link in the show notes of this episode that has the links to all these resources, to your podcast and to your right to Substack, and also to other to get your book. Also, I encourage everyone out there who has listened so far to please click on the link, copy the link, get the book, subscribe to the podcast, and start living a nourished life inside out from this moment. Thank you so much. I appreciate this wonderful conversation. I've learned so much about loving myself, putting myself to, develop my self confidence again after going through anything, any toxic relationship or bad situation, and also learning to just, be out of the box and just know your boundaries, know yourself, and love yourself for who you are. Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.